What if the ocean isn't just a place of silence and darkness, but a warning system? What if, long before we ever built submarines, long before we understood sonar or mapped the seafloor, ancient sailors were already witnessing signs, omens, that something vast and impossible was moving beneath them? For centuries, strange encounters at sea were dismissed as exaggerations, hallucinations, or myths told by frightened crews. But today, with high-resolution sonar, deep-sea cameras, and thousands of hours of unexplained recordings, those old stories suddenly feel less like imagination and more like uncomfortably accurate descriptions. The truth is simple and terrifying. We have explored less than 10% of the ocean, yet almost every year, new anomalies appear that defy classification. Glowing shapes drifting through black water, shadow masses larger than whales, pressure waves from creatures we've never identified, and sometimes, just sometimes, something looks back. In this video, we're diving into 10 omen-like encounters with abyssal beasts so strange, so unnatural, and so deeply unsettling that even scientists hesitate to give official explanations. These aren't your typical legends or recycled sea monsters. These creatures are different, more elusive, more intelligent, and often reported moments before disasters, vanishing ships, or catastrophic shifts in the ocean floor. Some were captured accidentally. Others were witnessed by entire crews who all reported the same impossible details. A few were seen only once, and left behind nothing but corrupted data and terrified survivors. So hold your breath, because what you're about to hear might change the way you think about the deep forever. And once we begin with our first sighting, you'll understand why these creatures were never meant to be ignored. Sailors have always feared the stretches of ocean where the wind dies, the waves flatten, and even the birds refuse to fly overhead. But in one of these unnervingly silent zones, a research vessel reported something so strange and so deeply wrong that the ocean has never felt the same since. It happened just after midnight, when the crew noticed a massive shadow gliding beneath their ship. Yet the water's surface didn't ripple. No disturbance, no splash, no vibration. It was as if the creature wasn't moving through the water, but sliding under it like a phantom. They called it the Gloom-Tail Sentinel, a name whispered with the kind of fear usually saved for bad omens. Witnesses described a serpentine form longer than their ship, but impossibly thin, as if stretched by unnatural forces. Its body emitted no light, reflected no light, and yet everyone on board claimed they could see it, like a shadow carved into reality itself. Some said it flickered, phasing in and out as it passed beneath them. Moments after the sighting, the ship's instruments went haywire. Compasses spun, GPS glitched. Depth sensors briefly registered the ocean floor as rising toward them, before suddenly dropping into readings thousands of meters deeper than physically possible. Then came the sound. A deep, low, mournful hum rising from the hull, vibrating through the metal like a warning. Minutes later, a violent storm formed out of nowhere. A storm that meteorologists later confirmed should have been impossible in that region at that time of year. Many believe the creature doesn't just move silently, it predicts catastrophe. Some even say it triggers it. Local fishermen swear that whenever the Gloom-Tail appears, something is about to go terribly wrong. A ship missing, a sudden squall, or a seismic shift far below the surface. But this is only the beginning. Because what sailors encountered next wasn't just silent, it was deceptively welcoming, and its glow was the trap. Not every creature from the abyss announces itself with shadows or storms. Some are far more deceptive, so deceptively gentle-looking that divers mistake them for help. The first recorded encounter with the Maw-Lantern Diver happened during a routine maintenance dive near an underwater observatory. Two divers had just finished adjusting a communications cable when they noticed a soft blue light gently pulsing in the distance. It looked exactly like the emergency beacon on a rescue drone. Relieved, they assumed another team had arrived early. But as the light drifted closer, they noticed something strange. The glow wasn't steady. It pulsed like a heartbeat, slowing and quickening almost as if responding to their presence. For a moment, the divers felt an odd calmness wash over them. Some survivors later described it as a deep, unnatural sense of safety. Then the beacon opened. The glowing sphere split into a ring of translucent tissue, revealing a circular mouth lined with teeth arranged in spirals, teeth that moved independently like spinning gears. The divers froze, horrified, as the creature extended a long, ribbon-like appendage that mimicked the shape of a rescue tether. It hadn't been guiding them. It had been luring them. Marine biologists still debate what the Maw-Lantern Diver truly is. Some believe it evolved bioluminescence specifically to mimic human technology. Others think it simply imitates whatever light source it encounters, like a deep-sea predator using reflections as bait. One shocking detail remains consistent. Every sighting precedes a disappearance. Whether it feeds on humans or something else entirely is still unknown. What we do know is this: its light does not warm, does not help, and does not heal. It beckons. And once you follow it, you might never return to the surface again. But if you think this was terrifying, wait until you hear about a creature whose very voice can break a person's mind. Some abyssal creatures terrify the eyes, others terrify the body, but the Skelterback Howler, it terrifies the mind. The first known recording of it came from a deep trench expedition that was studying infrasound patterns near tectonic fault lines. Everything was normal until the submersible passed a jagged ridge, its cameras briefly capturing the silhouette of something massive clinging upside down to the rock wall. At first, it looked like a giant crustacean. Long limbs bent at unnatural angles, a rib-like exoskeleton framing a hollowed torso. But then those ribs began to vibrate. The sound that followed didn't belong to any living thing. Technically, it wasn't even a sound. It was an infrasonic howl, so low the human ear wasn't designed to hear it, yet so powerful it bypassed hearing entirely. The pilot's heartbeat spiked, his breathing faltered, his hands began shaking uncontrollably. His co-pilot reported sudden nausea, dizziness, and an overwhelming sense of panic, as if the ocean was trying to crawl inside his skull. The howl lasted only 8 seconds, but it felt like hours. When the submersible resurfaced, the psychological effects were immediate and severe. The crew reported intrusive thoughts, vivid nightmares, and auditory hallucinations of distant wails echoing from dark corners of their rooms. For weeks, they heard the creature in their sleep, even though they knew its real voice existed thousands of meters below them. Some scientists argue the howler uses vibrations as a hunting tool, stunning prey from a distance. Others believe it evolved its sonic weapon for communication, not attack. An eerie theory implying that the crew may have simply heard it calling to something deeper. But one detail chills researchers the most. In every recording, the howler seems to pause, as if sensing the observer, as if listening back. And what the next crew encountered proves that the abyss doesn't just contain predators, it contains watchers. Some creatures frighten because they are violent, others because they are enormous. But the pale-tide wanderer terrifies for one simple reason. It looks almost human, but not quite. The first sighting came from a deep-sea pipeline inspection drone. Engineers monitoring the feed noticed something tall drifting upright in the background. At first, they assumed it was a decomposing diving suit, just fabric moving in a current. But then the suit reached out with a long, bending arm, its movement painfully slow, like a puppet being pulled by underwater strings. The creature's skin was ghost white, almost translucent, as if formed from compressed fog. Its limbs were too thin, fingers too long, joints bending with unsettling softness. And its face, smooth, blank, featureless except for the faint suggestion of a mouth, tilted toward the camera with a slow, unnatural curiosity. It had no eyes, yet every person who watched the recording later said the same thing. It was looking directly at me. The Wanderer didn't swim. It drifted, upright, motionless except for small, twitch-like corrections in posture, as though gravity didn't apply to it. Some experts believe it moves through deep-sea thermoclines, letting temperature shifts carry it like a tide. Others insist it isn't moving through water at all, but through something else. The most disturbing part wasn't the creature itself, but what followed. Hours after the drone captured the footage, the entire pipeline segment suffered a complete systems blackout. Pressure dropped, sensors shut down, and a thick, cold, mist-like anomaly filled the corridor. Crews who later investigated reported feeling watched, even though there was nothing on the cameras. Folklore among remote water workers now says that the pale-tide wanderer is an omen, not of disaster, but of presence. That wherever it drifts, something older, deeper, and infinitely more aware is nearby. And the next creature proves exactly that, because while the Wanderer watches, the next beast predicts. Most deep-sea creatures are glimpsed only in flashes, brief silhouettes, sudden movements, distorted shadows. But the Abyss Feather Reaper is so enormous, so impossibly vast, that it doesn't appear as a creature at all. It appears as a phenomenon. The first encounter happened during a long-term study of bioluminescent migration patterns around an abyssal plain. Researchers noticed a strange, massive blockage on their sonar, something huge moving slowly beneath the seafloor sensors. At first, they assumed it was a tectonic shift or a landslide, but then the blockage began to glide, rising. When the cameras finally caught a glimpse, everyone in the control room fell silent. A massive wing-like shape, dark, smooth, stretching wider than the length of an entire research station, floated beneath the ocean floor ridge. Not flapping, not swimming, simply drifting, as if carried by the planet itself. The wings weren't feathers, but long, rippling membranes that shimmered with iridescent blues and greens. Every time the creature shifted, marine life scattered in all directions. Entire ecosystems emptied within minutes. What terrified the scientists most was the silence. All acoustic sensors went dead whenever the Reaper passed. It was as if sound itself bent around it. Later analysis showed something even stranger. Pressure readings around the creature dropped dramatically, as though the water itself was thinning. Any smaller submersible caught in that pressure void would be crushed instantly, not by force, but by sudden absence of force. Every recorded sighting shares the same pattern. The creature appears, the ocean empties, and within days, something catastrophic follows. Entire reefs dying overnight, sudden deep-sea vents erupting, or unexplained seismic activity miles away. Some believe the Reaper is not hunting, not warning, but migrating, following cycles far older than human history. And if a creature this massive is merely passing through, it raises a terrifying question. What else? What bigger thing is it avoiding? The answer lies with the next encounter. A creature that doesn't just drift or lure, it signals. Some deep-sea creatures react to their environment, but the Rift Eel Prophet seems to foresee it. The first confirmed encounter happened during a monitoring mission above a volatile tectonic rift. A drone captured a long serpentine form weaving slowly through the darkness, over 40 meters long, yet moving with eerie precision, like a ribbon folding perfectly through the water. Along its body ran a series of glowing, rune-like markings that pulsed in slow, rhythmic waves. At first, researchers assumed the glowing symbols were bioluminescent patterns for mating or navigation. But then the runes began changing, shifting shapes, rearranging in sequences that looked alarmingly intentional, almost like a language. Minutes later, the ocean floor beneath the drone shuddered. A low-level seismic event rippled through the trench, and in the recording, the eel's runes flared bright 5 seconds before the quake hit. This wasn't coincidence. Over the next year, the rift eel appeared 8 more times across various trenches, each time moments before a tectonic disturbance. Its presence correlated with pressure imbalances, electromagnetic spikes, and in one case, a massive deep-sea vent eruption that lit the water column like underwater lightning. Scientists were stunned. How could a biological organism sense tectonic shifts before the Earth itself reacted? Some theorized that the eel detects microfractures in the seabed through electroreception. Others proposed something more radical, that the creature isn't sensing the events. It's responding to signals from even deeper layers of the planet. But there was one encounter that changed everything. A submersible recorded the prophet rising toward the surface, runes flashing in a frantic, rapid sequence. Hours later, a cargo ship traveling above the trench vanished without a distress call. Only debris washed ashore days later, twisted metal, scorched at the edges as if exposed to unimaginable pressure or heat. The crew reviewing the footage noticed something chilling. As the eel ascended, its runes shifted into new shapes never seen before. Symbols that didn't warn of earthquakes, but something alive. And the next creature shows exactly what the eel was warning us about. Some creatures warn us. Some mimic us. But the harrow-shell leviathan doesn't do either. It simply passes by, and the world shakes. It was first detected during a deep-sea mineral survey, when sonar readings suddenly spiked with violent rhythmic pulses. At first, researchers assumed it was machinery interference, but the pulses grew stronger, shaking the hull of the survey vessel with bone-deep vibrations. When cameras were deployed, they captured something enormous moving slowly across the trench floor, a massive crustacean-like titan with a spiraled, armor-plated shell as tall as a 2-story building. The leviathan didn't walk. It dragged itself with 6 spiked legs that dug trenches in the sea floor. Every movement produced a rolling shockwave strong enough to rattle metal hundreds of meters away. Its shell was covered in jagged ridges that vibrated independently, producing a low-frequency rumble that bypassed the ears and sank directly into the organs. Crew members reported chest tightness, blurred vision, and a feeling like their bones were being tuned. But the most unsettling part? The creature moved unbearably slowly, yet everything around it collapsed. Rock formations crumbled, sediment swirled violently, pressure sensors peaked into dangerous ranges. It was as if the leviathan didn't occupy space. It distorted it. Scientists now believe the creature's internal resonance is powerful enough to dislodge tectonic plates or trigger localized quakes. But the question remains, why does it move so slowly? Some propose that it's ancient, older than modern seafloor geography, carrying vibrations from an era when the Earth sounded different. The truly terrifying discovery came from a damaged black box recovered months after another leviathan sighting. In its final seconds, the recording captured a sudden, deafening vibration, followed by silence and complete data corruption. The vessel had been over a mile away. What could destroy equipment through nothing but resonance? And what was the leviathan reacting to? That answer arrives with the next creature, a thing that doesn't simply move through the abyss. It erases it. Silence can be peaceful, but in the deep ocean, true silence is a warning. The Night Glider tributary was first discovered when an autonomous submersible unexpectedly imploded during a routine descent. At first, investigators blamed a pressure malfunction, but when they reviewed the footage, the final image revealed something almost too dark to see. A thin, impossibly flat shape drifted past the camera, so black it erased the background behind it, like a hole sliding through water. This creature doesn't swim. It doesn't float. It glides perfectly horizontal, as if friction and currents don't exist. Some researchers described it as a living shadow, but that isn't accurate. The glider has edges, Smooth, geometric edges that taper into points, like wings on a plane or the blades of a guillotine. What makes it horrifying isn't its shape, but the effect it leaves behind. Wherever the night glider passes, the pressure drops instantly, like the water forgets how to support itself. Small submersibles collapse inward, sensors shut down, sound dies entirely. Even the natural hum of the ocean disappears, replaced by a suffocating stillness that engineers later described as the dead of space, but underwater. Entire trenches have been documented going silent minutes before the creature appears. Some experts believe the night glider feeds on pressure gradients, absorbing the tension in the water column. Others propose a much darker theory. The creature isn't interacting with our dimension at all. It's slipping through it, only partially visible, its true form existing somewhere deeper and unreachable. Fishermen who unknowingly passed over glider routes report eerie sensations, sudden nausea, migraines, and the feeling that the seafloor dropped beneath their boat, even in calm water. One crew swore they saw their own sonar return vanish mid-scan, as if swallowed whole. But the most haunting question remains. If something can erase sound, pressure, and presence itself, what happens when it stops merely passing by and starts rising? The next creature answers that question. And it is made of veins, not flesh. In the deep ocean, light is rare, which makes the lantern vein sentinel even more disturbing. It was first spotted during a mass die-off investigation after thousands of fish mysteriously surfaced belly up across a 12-mile stretch of open water. Drones surveying the region detected something glowing beneath the carnage. At first, researchers expected volcanic activity or toxic blooms. Instead, the cameras revealed a floating web of pulsating, vein-like filaments. Each filament glowed with a sickly, reddish-orange hue, like the illuminated bloodstream of something massive. The structure drifted slowly, tentacles flowing outward in delicate, trembling strands. At its center was a dense, shifting mass resembling a skull twisted into a tangle of cartilage and bone, never fully forming, always melting into new shapes. The one constant was the light, a heartbeat-like pulse that grew brighter whenever it encountered dead or dying creatures, almost as though it was feeding on them. Biologists were horrified when they analyzed drone footage frame by frame. The sentinel didn't consume through a mouth. Instead, its filaments wrapped around carcasses, siphoning chemical energy directly through the tissue, leaving behind hollow, bleached husks that drifted away like underwater ash. But here's what makes the creature truly terrifying. The lantern vein sentinel does not appear randomly. It appears after catastrophe. Every documented sighting correlates with disaster zones, mass mortalities, sudden oxygen crashes, inexplicable ecosystem collapses. Some believe the creature is attracted to death. Others think it is the cause, its presence draining life from the water itself. Then one expedition encountered something unprecedented. As the drone approached, the sentinel's filaments recoiled and pointed upward, as if sensing something above it. The central mass twisted, forming a shape disturbingly similar to a wide, staring eye. Deep-sea sensors spiked violently. Something colossal was descending. What the sentinel was reacting to wasn't a predator or prey, but a mountain-sized being waking below the trench. And that brings us to the final creature, the one that reshapes the ocean simply by breathing. Some abyssal creatures are terrifying because of what they do. Some because of how they hunt. But the Cursed Shroud Colossus is terrifying for a different reason entirely. It doesn't do anything. It just exists. And that is enough to change the ocean itself. The Colossus was discovered by accident when a deep-sea cartography team mapped an unremarkable undersea hill, or at least that's what they thought. The formation was perfectly symmetrical, too smooth, too rounded. One researcher noted a subtle vibration running through the sonar, like a heartbeat buried beneath rock. Curious, they sent a submersible to investigate. Halfway into the descent, the sub's lights flickered. Then the seafloor moved. The hill exhaled. A massive, slow-moving plume of silt erupted upward as the dark shape beneath it shifted. What the cameras revealed in that moment is still debated, denied, and classified by every organization involved. The creature was vast beyond comprehension, larger than a skyscraper, shaped like a continent-sized shroud of flesh. Its surface rippled with slow tidal movements, as if entire landscapes were breathing. No visible eyes, no mouth, no limbs, just an endless expanse of organic terrain that blurred the line between body and environment. Every sensor malfunctioned simultaneously. Pressure gauges swung wildly, electromagnetic readings spiked into impossible ranges. For a few horrifying seconds, even gravity readings fluctuated. The Colossus didn't attack. It didn't acknowledge the sub. It simply rose, and the entire trench rose with it. The footage showed buildings of coral sliding off its back like dust. Caverns and ridges, once thought to be geological features, peeled away as the creature uncurled from the seafloor it had mimicked for centuries. The sub's cameras shook as the water around it trembled from a movement so deep and slow it felt like the ocean was groaning. Then came the part no one can explain. Every creature encountered earlier, the Sentinel, the Wanderer, the Howler, even the Night Glider, appeared on sonar in a fleeing pattern, scattering from the trench in every direction, as if the ocean itself had sounded an alarm. Witnesses swear the Colossus wasn't waking up. It was shifting, turning its attention toward something distant, something above, and whatever it sensed. We have no defense against it. The deeper we look into the ocean, the more we realize how little we truly understand. These 10 encounters aren't just stories or strange anomalies. They're reminders that our planet is still hiding giants, predators, watchers, and ancient forces we can barely describe. And if these creatures really are omens, then each sighting might be telling us something about the world we're stepping into, or the one waking up beneath us. But what do you think? Are these beings warnings from the abyss, misunderstood fragments of a hidden ecosystem, or something far older that we've only glimpsed for the first time? Let me know in the comments which creature fascinated or terrified you the most. And if you want more explorations into the unknown, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because the ocean isn't done revealing itself, and neither are the things that live in its darkness.